Good morning, Josu. First, let me thank you for your participation in the European Cloud Computing Community interview series, which we are holding to help the European Commission in its pursuit to the European Fit for the Digital Age. Within the next minutes, we will be talking about how cybersecurity is of prime importance to be considered in the cloud computing research and innovation. Josu, could you please tell us a little bit about the Panda Security Watchgard story, which is its vision, its mission?
Yes, thank you. So I'm Josu Franco. I'm a strategy and technology advisor for Watchgard Technologies, and I'm based in Bilbao, Spain. I joined Watchgard in 2020 through the acquisition of Panda Security, an endpoint cybersecurity company that started here in Bilbao. And this is where I've been working for over the past 20 years now. So at Panda and at Watchgard, what we do is we provide cybersecurity solutions. And the goal is to offer enterprise-grade cybersecurity to all kinds of customers, mostly small and medium-sized companies. That's really the mission of the company.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Very interesting. Well, as I mentioned before, we will talk a little bit about cybersecurity and its relation with cloud computing. And so I'm going to make some questions, and I appreciate you can just give me your point of view. It can be from the company itself or even from your personal point of view. So the first question is, we will talk about cybersecurity in the cloud. What, from your perspective, are the main advantages and disadvantages related with the alternative on-premises? What are the trends?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, Panda Security was one of the first cybersecurity companies to offer solutions from the cloud. Particularly, all the management of the endpoint security solution that was deployed to the devices themselves that we wanted to protect, like desktops and laptops. So we started offering a solution back in 2004 in which all that endpoint security was fully managed from a cloud-based solution. And we did it for various reasons. Now, during this time, since 2004, we've seen more and more customers moving to this or adopting this type of solutions. But there are still some others, and more so in some countries than others in Europe, and particularly some governments in Europe that are still a bit reluctant to adopt this type of solutions. And I believe clearly that that is detrimental to cybersecurity. So maintaining this, I would say, on-premise type of approach, it is detrimental to cybersecurity for different reasons. First is that the processing and the correlation of all the cybersecurity and threat data that we can achieve in the cloud is impossible to replicate in an on-premise system. Cybersecurity today is about analyzing incredible amounts of data, telemetry, information about what the bad actors are doing, etc. And that can only be achieved really in the cloud. Second, I think that it is really important to do things from the cloud, because right now companies have lots of people working from everywhere. You can think that a company may have as many offices as employees working remotely from any place, and managing in our case, the endpoint security for all those employees working remotely using an on-premise solution is really difficult. It is much more efficient in terms of cybersecurity to do it from a cloud-based infrastructure. And third, there is another important reason, is that cybersecurity is becoming more and more complex. Making sure that all the controls are in place, monitoring those controls, etc., is becoming more and more difficult. So more and more companies are going towards managed security service providers to perform these tasks for them. Now, in order for a third party to manage remotely the cybersecurity for their customers, you need to have a solution that scales well, that allows you to be very flexible in terms of where the devices you want to protect are and how much you need to manage them. You can only do that using a cloud-based management infrastructure. So I think that Europe should definitely keep pushing to have more and more institutions, government, companies, etc., using these cloud-based cybersecurity solutions.
Yeah, I think that this is also very relevant because the European Commission would like to promote that all the at least all the public services will become digital by the end of this decade. Well, it does also just bring me to the next question, which is related. So, how can cybersecurity help in data governance? Just thinking that everything will be in the cloud, how can we protect the personal data? How we can avoid data leaks? What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, well, I would start making a comment, and here what we see is that the vast majority of successful attacks could have been prevented. Okay. So if we talk about how most attacks unfold, it is in many cases because simply attackers are going after vulnerabilities that are known and for which a patch was available for a long time. It means that even though I think there has been progress in the way that that many companies protect themselves because they become more aware about the need to invest more in cybersecurity, there is still a good number of other companies and institutions that fail at implementing even some basic security measures. So I think that it is very important to ensure that that everyone, and most importantly those in the full supply chain, meet some basic, at least some basic standards, some basic security measures. I'm talking about things like patch management, ensuring that all systems are up to date, ensuring that all systems have a modern cybersecurity solution installed and updated, ensuring that everyone who is connecting to the internet or accessing some other resources remotely has multi-factor authentication. Just with those measures, most of the attacks can be prevented today using existing technologies. So I think it would be necessary to extend, let's say, the mandate to comply with these basic cybersecurity measures to perhaps more companies than what it is being mandated today. So I think that with what we have today, we can still we can leverage those technologies today and mitigate a lot of the risk that is affecting everyone now.
So I mean that when we were talking that they are pushing that all these public services will become digital and online. So somehow we should give the message to the European Commission that they should not forget that if they would like this to be successful, cybersecurity should be one of the first things on the list. At least as I understood, is just pushing the companies just to fulfill the basic security measures.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that also we need to do that with the user and the privacy at the center of it. First of all, cybersecurity should not be an afterthought. Should not be a complement that you plug in after you've built whatever systems you want to build. It should be embedded right at the start, in the design phase, in the concept phase of during the creation of a new system. Cybersecurity should be already part of that design. It should not be something that comes after that. And second, talking about privacy and user, I believe that it is a good thing that Europe is making that a priority. I think that users, we should all be in control of our own data. The data is ours. So what is the best mechanism to ensure that? That from a technology perspective, I don't know. There are different approaches right now. Security wallets, the initiative of Inrupt. I think they are all very interesting, but we'll see from a technology perspective what makes better sense or what is better. But I think that it's important to put those initiatives at the forefront of any effort that we want to do in all this.
Yeah, I agree, and of course this is something that European Commission is pushing forward, is the European digital wallet for keeping all your personal information, personal data, academic records, even your jobs or whatever is needed. So they talk about this, how it's called, they call it self-sovereign identities by using that. But it looks very promising. And as you say, what is it called? Inrupt. It's also something very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's another initiative.
Yeah. So that's that's let's say that now we have they have taken the measurements, and the cloud in Europe has this security by design. Then later we will have to monitor how this security is enforced. What would you be your perception? I mean, it's like always. I mean, it's not always starting just from the very beginning, but you have also already mentioned that everything has to be updated and these kind of things.
Yeah.
But especially with these services in the cloud, when they can be moved from one using some resources to another one, so they are like that dynamic. How could we just cybersecurity help that when the data is moving from one place, from the data center to another data center, using different resources, still the data will be secure?
Well, I think that, yeah, I mean, what we said about monitoring, and I think that's really important, and it's perhaps more important to ensure that everyone in that chain, in that federation, complies with the required cybersecurity standards or mandates, right? The bad actors are always going to try to exploit the weakest link. And so we need to ensure that everyone in that supply chain is fully secure and complies with the standards. There needs to be standards for them. There needs to be regulation affecting them as well, and it needs to be enforced and it needs to be monitored. But even to monitor that many, let's say, nodes in the chain, I still think that the only efficient way to do it is by using some form of cloud-based infrastructure, as I said. And I go to the previous point I mentioned. More and more cybersecurity will be provided by third parties as a service. We see that already. There are more and more companies, particularly smaller ones, that go to a managed security service provider to monitor and to manage cybersecurity for them. So that is becoming more important when we see that there are not enough. There is a clear lack or a clear shortage in cybersecurity skills. There is a tremendous gap in the skills that are needed to protect all the systems of all companies, and the number of people that are able to provide those services today. So I think that is also another point for Europe, is how to promote that there is more talent in cybersecurity. That is a critical gap that we are facing, and perhaps through more automation, through more efficient ways to manage the security for multiple customers at once. I think that is all going in that direction, right? But for that, you also need these cloud-based systems.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a very important point. I mean, that we are also just trying just to tell the European Commission, or just to bring them what are the skills gap regarding the cloud computing. And there are a lot. I mean, in some cases, they say that even unemployment from this sector is zero or even negative. I mean, there is a huge demand of these experts on these fields, and it doesn't feel that there are people just with the appropriate training for that. So that, but then the question is, when we are talking also to what alternatives they have just to get this knowledge, there are not any clear degrees at the universities or where they could get this this training from. I mean, if it will, I guess, what would you ask the European Commission just to promote, just so that we can have more specialists in this field?
It's hard to say because yeah, cybersecurity at universities is also competing with many other domains, and so I don't think I have a very clear answer. It needs to be, I mean, promoted in a way that becomes more attractive to students. I don't know. I think that also, on the other hand, we will see that this challenge, in our case for cybersecurity vendors, means that we are putting a lot of focus and a lot of effort into automating as much as possible, making sure that our cybersecurity solutions are as automated as possible. That is a challenge in itself, but I see that we will see improvements and progress, so that the system itself is able to react automatically whenever there is an indication of a breach or an attack, etc. So I think that we will continue with this problem for a while. I don't know for how long, but we need to keep moving. So we cannot stop. And at least from our perspective, we're investing and we're putting a lot of effort into this automation initiative.
Thanks a lot, Josu. I think that well, we will move to the last point. I appreciate your opinion; they are very valuable. It's regarding the cyber software engineering in the cloud, and that's a bit more personal or more oriented to your company. How about how do you develop or sell your software with your offering?
Yeah.
If how is done, it is in-house outsourcing in the European Union, outsourcing in Asia, North America, elsewhere. What can you tell us?
So, Panda Security, and that is now part of Watchgard. All the endpoint security technologies are still developed here in Bilbao. All the core technologies are proprietary and are developed here. We do license components non-core to our let's say our main product. We license components from third parties, I would say, from all over the world. I mean, we're talking about certain technologies that we integrate in the product that again are non-core for us. We've been licensing and integrating technologies for a long time now, as most companies do. But the core team of development and the labs that analyzes the threats and analyzes the, let's say, the new tricks or the new techniques used by bad actors, and all the analysis and correlation of threat data affecting endpoint security, that is all done here locally.
By the way, Bilbao is in Spain, in Europe, for those that they don't know the city. So thanks a lot, Josu. Just a final question, that's because also the European Commission is always just thinking about open source. Especially when they have their initiatives, they want that everything that is developed, even nowadays from processors, so they are also just talking on open. So everything is open for the whole community. I know that Panda Security Watchgard is a private company, but I just wanted to know what is your opinion? I mean, if let us say that there is one company from cybersecurity that is providing things in an open source, will this be feasible, or it is something which doesn't make any sense at all?
Yeah, but we may use some open source components in our systems. I think it's hard to say it doesn't make sense. I mean, no, I think it makes sense, and I think it can be probably a mix of open source and proprietary in our case. What makes sense for us? I think that it should really depend on what is available and what initiatives are being developed in open source. I think we would need to go probably on a case-by-case basis. I'm sympathetic to open source, but I think that it's hard to establish a general rule of what's better, whether it should always be all open source or not. I think that we would need to be more probably cautious when talking about it. Now, I don't have a very clear, I would say, opinion on how things should be moving in this regard. What I know is that we use both open source and for some of the components we use proprietary.
Mm-hmm. So thank you, Josu. I would like, if you like to say something just to finish the interview.
No, thank you for this opportunity, and yeah, I hope that you know, this initiative makes everyone to become more aware about the need to invest in cybersecurity. That is really what enables everyone to you know, to live in the digital space. So rather than, as I said, rather than something that comes after, I think we should always have cybersecurity as a habit. And in the same way that when we drive, if we want to be safe, we need to take a kind of a defensive approach. I think that when we are in the digital space, we should always also take kind of a defensive approach. So be careful when we do things, because it may have an impact on from a cybersecurity standpoint.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Most of the time we are always in a rush. We does not take the enough precautions when we are just trying just to say yes to the conditions from a specific app of software in the cloud. So thanks a lot, Josu. It's been a real pleasure to be with you. Yes, thanks a lot. Take care.